The Broad Street Review podcast is an extension of Broad Street Review, Philly's home for arts, culture, and conversation, an online arts and culture journal covering the greater Philadelphia area. This podcast is an Emory production. I'm your host, Darnell Radford. Podcast, Jordan Dobson and Adam Chandler Barrett stopped by to talk about the East Coast premiere of Small Ball, a surreal, magical musical about basketball and teammates only 6 inches tall. On stage at Philadelphia Theater Company, here is my interview with Jordan and Adam for Small Ball. And welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Darnell Radford, and today I am in the virtual studio to talk about Philadelphia Theater Company's final production of the season, this 50th anniversary season, with an East Coast premiere of Small Ball, which is an offbeat comedy with the books and lyrics by Mickle, Maher, and music by Meryl Van Dijk. Did I say that correctly? I hope I did. And Anthony Barilla, directed by Taibi, Magar, and Tyler Dobrowsky. And so I'm here with 2 of the actors in the show, and we're going to let them introduce themselves.
Hey, my name is Adam Chandler Barrett, and I play a psychopath named Pippin.
And hey, my name is Jordan Dobson, and I play Michael Jordan, but not the Michael Jordan that you're thinking of.
I love how that's in the description too, but not that Michael Jordan.
Exactly.
Okay, so Small Ball, tell us about it.
You know, this is a really hard piece to talk about. It's absurdist and silly, and so when you try to explain it to people, it doesn't quite do it justice. But my sort of elevator pitch that I'll try with you right now is that it takes place on the island of Lilliput, which is in Gulliver's Travels, the land where the small people live. And it is in a time when all fictional places have become real. And so Lilliput has become a real place. And in sort of competing on the national stage as a real country to be taken seriously, they create a basketball team and draft not the Michael Jordan, but a Michael Jordan to join their team. And he doesn't pass the ball, and chaos ensues.
Yeah, that was a really good. That was a perfect pitch.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
So, what were your first impressions of this piece?
Oh, I thought it was hilarious. I mean, Taibi sent me the script, and I started reading through, and I was like, "What the heck is going on?" I mean, because it's absurdist, and that's so much of the fun of the piece. So much of it is just larger than life, which really lends itself to all the theatrical elements that we use throughout the show, like puppetry and shadow puppetry, and all these really cool collaborative elements that all come together. It's like a feast for the eyes.
Great. So when did you start working on this?
I think we both joined very late in the game. We both joined just before, I think weeks before coming here even. And someone must have pulled out on both of our rooms.
Honestly, I think so.
And so we to take the sloppy seconds off their But it's been a lot of fun. It's my first time in Philly, an extended period of time, and I'm loving the city. And Taibi and Tyler create such a beautiful, collaborative, loving, best idea wins kind of room.
Yeah.
And it's a piece that really, I think, celebrates, like Jordan was saying, the form that it's in. It's celebrating theater. So we're having a great time.
Great. So tell me about your characters. Adam, let's talk about Pippin.
Oh boy. Okay, Pippin. he described him as a psychopath, and I think that's fair to say. He's a native of the island of Lilliput, and he very much believes that, you know, the sort of traditions of the island should be respected and honored, and this new game of basketball is a disgrace, and that the people of Lilliput should not be trying to open their culture up to the world, to the island, and to beyond the island. And he's the advisor to. He was once the emperor, but now he's the president-elect, Coach Phil Jackson. He's also the coach of the team. So I'm sort of whispering in his ear. Someone described my character, I think it was you, described my character as the kind of little finger. Is that the right?
Oh, yeah, from Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Oh, the hand?
And the hand.
Hand
yes.
of the king.
And I think that's exactly the idea. That's the kind of vocabulary that we're using.
Yeah, there always has to be someone behind the scenes pulling the strings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's sort of an agent of chaos.
Yeah. I guess it's a thought that how could one leader be so spry? There has to be someone who's back there looking at all these angles.
Yeah, that's right. The question is, are they just trying to do what's best for them or for the kingdom, you know?
Yeah. Well, every hand that we've seen, you know, from all we know, thanks to HBO, is pretty much underhanded.
Some self-interest there,
yeah. Self-interest, absolutely. If I stumble upon something that works for everybody, hey.
Yeah, exactly. in the guise of it working for everyone else.
Yeah.
Sound like anyone we know?
Uh-huh.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, Jordan, tell us about Jordan.
Yes, Michael Jordan, but not the Michael Jordan. I mean, he deals with the burden of being named Michael Jordan and is a basketball player. So that's one huge thing weighing on him, and tells a lot about, you know, his parents and specifically his mother. But he's the character who is dealing with real world issues on this fantasy island, and one of two characters who is, you know, a normal guy from the world that we know, is dropped in this mystical world where all the fairy tales come true. So he's kind of this, I like to think of him as a way in for the audience of like, whoa, what is going on here? What's all happening around me? And then is very much dealing with like kind of grieving his mother, who he has left back in Wisconsin. And she's dealing with, you know, dementia, like getting older, and all of these like mystical elements all tie into this concept of grief and finding out where you belong and what to do next and how to move forward. That's his big thing, is just trying to figure out how to move forward. And then all these zany things are happening to him and all around him, which are quite hilarious. So it's a nice juxtaposition between him and everyone else.
It's like, world, could you settle down? I'm trying to figure out where I belong.
No, that's exactly
how to move forward. All right, so I'm in the show now.
Yeah. We need a few understudies. Come on over.
So it's so it's a musical, and so talk about the music and how you were introduced to it. Do you have any favorites, or what is the kind of style? Can you tell? Can you kind of interpret, like, what's the through line in the music?
I mean, the whole show is like, it's like you would never think to mash basketball with Gulliver's Travels, with a musical with Michael Jordan. Like, it's the whole the whole idea of the show is sort of like, you're like, huh? Like, how do all of those things fit into one thing? Like, they feel like they're all from different universes, and it somehow works. And I feel like the music is another sort of question mark of like, how does that all make sense in the same world? Because the music is like, I don't know, the reference that I had when I first listened to it, I was like, this sounds like Bjork.
Oh yeah.
You know, like it's so add that to the kind of stew of everything else that you're like, wait, what? How does that make sense? But it somehow really doesn't. Jordan has Jordan has some of my favorite songs in the show, and his voice is so gorgeous. And there's such a there's like I think you bring out the kind of warmth that's already in the music. You know, there's a real like kind of emotional undercurrent of the music, when I think the book has a lot of bits and jokes and zaniness and like kookiness, and then the music to me adds a kind of like an emotional texture underneath that. So in these moments where you're maybe like, wait, what the hell is going on here, that the music can somehow bring forth an emotional truth that you can connect with in the midst of this chaos.
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed that perfectly, especially the part about my amazing voice. I think you.
Yeah, that part was.
I'm so kidding. No, that's so sweet of you. but I do think you're right with like Bjork meets like the nostalgia or like familiar. Yeah, familiar melodies of like kind of Alan Menken, like if they had a baby, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
No, but exactly.
But yeah, I'm just echoing what Adam said about this style of music and the emotional depth that it gives the show. It's a really cool thing to play with.
Yeah.
So Bjork meets Alan Menken. You definitely got my partner interested there. He breaks for Alan Menken. So
yes, me too. Me too.
Okay, so it's a musical, so there's choreography in this too. Everything else is weirdly mashing together. Talk about the choreo in this.
Oh yeah, I don't dance at all in this show, but Adam does some really, really fun,
I dance quite a bit.
Fun moves.
There's Katie Spellman, our choreographer, movement director, is a weird genius and
incredible.
Has the strangest, most perfect references for like the physical vocabulary that we are using in the show, including sort of ranging from kind of interpretive dance, I would say, to like boy band dancing. And there's quite a bit of Fosse in there, I would also say. My character is named after Scottie Pippen, but also named after Pippen, the beloved Stephen Schwartz musical. Yeah. So there's quite a bit of Fosse in my vocabulary in the show. Whether or not it's successful, you will have to come and see for yourselves.
I can assure you, I watch Adam all the time, and it's very successful. And
it's something.
I'm realizing you dance more than you're the dancer of the show.
Yeah, somehow. That was a bad decision.
And no, it's great. But also Katie, along with Taibi and Tyler, have come up with a great movement vocabulary with shadow puppetry.
Yeah,
we're behind a scrim doing all this shadow movement, which is another like awesome and really fun form of storytelling. And it's cool working in the two-dimensional rather than three-dimensional. It's got a lot of challenges and so many things that you don't realize like will not read when you're behind a scrim. But yeah, it's a fun hurdle to jump, and with this team, it's like such a blast.
Yeah, it's always fun to have puppetry in a show, and I've been seeing a lot of productions that are very, very human centered, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's a puppet that no one sees as a puppet, and the audience is like, that's a you're like carrying it through. But I think it's like it's an interesting break of like, I mean, it's not really a norm break, but like you're looking at all this stuff that's very the same, and then you see this puppet and you're like, this puppet's important.
Yeah.
How is there a puppet in here if the puppet doesn't matter, So that's how you know you got to pay attention here when this puppet's on stage.
Exactly.
So there's puppetry in here, there's music, there's dance, there's hilarity, and it's crazy. Let's talk about this ensemble that you share the stage with. There's a lot of Philadelphians in here that we all know and love. Can you talk a little bit about them? and there are various bits, like how your character interacts with them. Adam, you talked about how your character interacts with Phil Jackson already.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, when you're coming from New York and working out of town, you're a guest in someone else's house, and I really feel like that here, and that the theater community here in Philly has like really welcomed us in such a beautiful way, and they know this theater scene better than we ever. I mean, you're from here, so you should really be answering this question. But I feel like the visitor for sure, and they know the theater scene here. They know what audiences here respond to, and the kind of theater that's made in this town. And so, in a lot of ways, I feel like I'm just kind of taking, their lead. I'm following their lead on things, and it's just such a wonderful, smart, gifted, lovely group of actors to be a part of. And I feel like we're all working so well together. The show requires a lot of generosity amongst the company. Like you have your moment and then you pass the baton to someone else. And we're all like, it's very much again about the celebratory act of imagination and theater making. And so that requires us all to pitch in together, and it just really feels like the synergy in the company is very special and beautiful.
Yeah. And like me, like I grew up in Philly and, went to Temple for musical theater. So I grew up being such fans of this cast, like Sarah Glico and Rob Tucker. I'd been watching all throughout college and even in high school, and just like admiring their work so much. And then Josh Chatura and Lexi Thamabong, it feels like a homecoming, honestly. Whereas like, my life and career in New York, I've obviously been a fan of Adam, who's sitting right next to me, and Nadina Hassan, who plays my opposite. So it feels like everyone that I really admire from two different walks of life all in the same room, which is super exciting to me. I'm just like a fangirl the whole time.
Great. So that brings to my Broadway question. I just thought it'd be fun to ask, as artists with Broadway credit, what have you learned? What have you learned on or about Broadway that informs your regional productions and vice versa? Like, what have you learned from being in Broadway shows that makes it easier, or sort of like you bring that to a regional production? And what do the regional productions bring to you, when you're working on Broadway?
I mean, I'll speak to this. Broadway exists, especially now, as and there's so many incredible things that happen each and every Broadway season, but it exists as a means of it's a commercial venture. It's where producers go to make money and win awards. And that's very important for everyone to participate in, because sometimes you also want to do that. And there are moments where making money and winning awards, I think, I don't mean to sound cynical about Broadway. I think there are many times where that can overlap with artistry. And I think everyone who's participating in Broadway is trying to make something great. But for me, working regionally and in nonprofits in the city and around the country, that's where you can really take risk. And that's kind of the forefront of the art form. And all across the country, these nonprofits are in a dire financial place, especially now that the NEA has funding has been cut. And so it's so important now more than ever to support your local community theater, your local like Lort Theater, like the one that we're in now, the nonprofit theaters, these art institutions that are like so connected to the community that they are immersed in. Because that is really where, like you as a community member have the most sort of say and participation because it's hyper local. And also that's where the art form is really able to take risks and push the form and, sort of set the course for the next 25, 50 years of the kinds of musicals and plays that we will be going to see on Broadway. Um, I hope I don't sound like I'm disparaging like the commercial theater venture. I really like, it's where I grew up. I mean, like Next to Normal was my very first job. Insanely. It was my first professional job. I got my equity card doing that.
What?
Yeah.
I did not realize.
Congratulations.
Like, so lucky that happened. But I cut my teeth as an actor in like the Helen Hayes Theater Company in Nyack, New York. That's where I learned, that's where I fell in love with acting. That's where I learned what craft was. That's how I, like learned what the skill that's required behind it, And so it's so important for anyone who is listening to this, in whatever way you can, go find ways to support your local nonprofit theaters around the country, around the city. It's a dire situation, and we all need to sort of pitch in.
Yeah, I fully agree with Adam here. I mean, it's just so necessary. I mean, theater does not exist, and Broadway does not exist without regional theater, community theater, all these things that have made us who we all are as performers, no matter what's like level you, and I put air quotes about on that, level you're on. So I fully echo that. And to speak to like performance style, the difference between like Broadway and, regional work or any other work, kind of goes along the lines of what Adam said. You can take more risks and you can really blossom as a performer in a regional house, in a regional circuit. Whereas Broadway, it's so exciting and obviously it's so competitive. So there is a certain like caliber of
Talent.
Talent or performer that you're working with. There's also such a magnifying glass on you when you're on Broadway. So and such an investment that all these producers have put millions and millions of dollars into the show. So there's less room for risk taking. So there's like pros and cons to everything. It's so thrilling, playing to huge audiences in Broadway theaters, and it's what we call the highest form of theater in this country. But there's also, the downside to that. So yeah, I like doing both, and like my career has been like Broadway, regional, like being able to switch back and forth. Which, I think really informs like being a well-versed slash, what's this word I'm looking for? Well-rounded, I guess, performer. Yeah.
I love seeing people from our community on Broadway stages because I've seen them on these smaller stages. Like I love seeing an actor who was at Temple Theaters, who was at Tomlinson, and then, maybe went over to like the Prince Music Theater when that was open, and is at PTC and then has an opportunity and goes on to Broadway, and you're just like, wow, like we saw all of these other productions where their art just shone through, where we watched this artist grow, and now they're on this main stage, arguably this main stage, which, reaches more people. Philadelphia is hard pressed to advertise to Kansas,
Totally.
but New York advertises to Kansas.
I think that's the main thing. That's the main plus of like being on Broadway, is that it does reach more people. So like the representation goes so much farther, especially being like a Philly person. And, I've gotten to be on Broadway with one of my classmates from Temple. in the same show, which was like one of the coolest things, having our professors come see us both share a Broadway stage together. Yeah, it was just like a really magical moment. And when folks from Philly, because this is where I got my equity card in Philly, I learned everything I know in Philly. When people come on up and see us in a Broadway show, there's just like a pride and support of community.
Absolutely. So now we'll go back to small ball. Are there moments in small ball that resonate with you more? Are you like, I live for this part, or I live for this moment, or I love being backstage when this moment happens?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, honestly, Nandina Hassan, who plays Lily, watching her do anything is really thrilling. I mean, she's so truthful and so like grounded in everything she does. And there's a moment where she's just on stage by herself, playing basketball, you know?
Yeah.
And it just speaks to like, no matter if it's basketball for you, but like being in your room, doing what you love to do and imagining this fantasy of doing it in front of all these people. For me, it was like I would like sing in my room, like with my hairbrush, you know, pretending I was on a huge stage. And it's that, and she captures that feeling so well while playing basketball, you know, to herself. And it's so like, it's such a specific thing that we all know what that feels like. And she does it so well. I love that.
So I meant to ask this earlier, but do either of you play basketball? Do you play basketball when you're not on stage?
Not at all.
No.
Well, no.
No.
I'm learning how to spin the ball on my finger though. And honestly, I'm kind of eating it up.
You're getting
Getting good.
It is theatrical. You could be a globetrotter.
Yeah.
You know, Daryl Morey is one of the supporters of our show. He commissioned this piece initially, and I don't know who he is. And like, I think if you knew anything about basketball, you know who Daryl Morey is. So I'm like learning about who he is.
Yeah.
That's my answer. Like, do I know anything about basketball?
My whole family is super hype. They're like, "Whoa, you're with Daryl Morey?" And I'm like, yeah. I'm just trying to meet Jared McCain as well, 76ers player that I know from TikTok. He's just super cool. I want to meet him so bad. But no, if this show is about soccer, then I would have a lot more answers for you. But that's not the case.
But you know, I think it's fun to know these things because you know, your performance on stage so well executed because of rehearsals and, you know, all the practice that you put into it. And so somebody sitting there going like, wow, where do you get the time to be so good at this? It was like, well, this is kind of choreography and I'm learning steps, and it's like a 5, 6, 7 and making it work. But it's like, because this is just one project that you're working on. Like, you might be tapping in your next project.
Honestly, like,
I don't think that'll be happening for me.
No, but I feel like in my career, I've had to learn a lot of skills for a specific show that I didn't know before. Whether it was like Hadestown, I didn't play guitar before that show, so I learned. Or like even this show being basketball, or you know, tap dancing, whatever it may be, it's the same thing. Or like in Maestro, like learning how to conduct, you know, like you learn these skills, and mainly the trick is learning the mannerisms that these like jobs have, so that you look and seem believable for an audience. I think that's the key for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I jumped around this as well when I was talking about Broadway. I think people would kill me if you didn't do this, but if you could just tell us some of the most notable pieces that you've been in on Broadway. I know you talked about some of them.
Adam, you want to go first? You can go. I love talking about my resume.
Please flourish your resume if you want.
I was in Next to Normal. I was in the original company of Next to Normal. I played Henry in that.
Now on PBS, if you want to watch.
Now on PBS. I was in the original company of Peter and the Starcatcher on Broadway. I did a St. Joan, the Shaw play revival on Broadway. I did a musical adaptation of Amelie that also had a very short life on Broadway.
Yeah. Wait, we have the same number of Broadway credits. You and I. That's fun. And also, my last one also had a short life. My first show was West Side Story, the 2020 revival, directed by Ivo Van Hove. I was the alternate for Tony, and then I did Hadestown. I played Orpheus. Was in the original company of A Beautiful Noise, the Neil Diamond musical, as Shiloh, and and then Bad Cinderella was my last one. That was the short-lived one, similar to. We got some similarities going on there.
We do. Except you're younger.
Oh, please. Barely.
So what do you hope, or like, what are you taking from this experience? I know you jumped in late in the game, but as you're going through the process, like, what are you feeling that you're taking away from this? What do you think you'll ultimately take away from this experience?
I mean, I think I'm getting to play a part that I don't really get to play often, especially in New York. And so I feel like I'm really making friends with my inner clown and getting to know my inner clown, which is like a very strange and fun and surprising and spiritual experience in a kind of way. You know, like after working in this business for over like 20 years, feeling like you're discovering like a new sort of corner of your
sky.
Of your sky.
Good.
You were getting there.
I was just, you're teasing me up. What's a basketball phrase? Layup? Layup? Oh,
an
boy.
Assist, an alley-oop.
An assist. You assisted.
Yeah.
I'm canceled for this. I am fired from this show.
You know, the whole time I was thinking about this piece, because it's a musical, I was thinking about High School Musical, just because of the songs, you know, Head and Game.
Right. You gotta get your head in the game.
Yeah.
No, it's very.
That's right. It's very that.
We're Troy Bolton.
We're really.
No, what I'm taking away from this is being able to spin the ball on my finger. I'm gonna be bringing that to every party that I'm at. That's my new party trick, because honestly, I'm good at it. No, but besides that, honestly, being with this company.
Yeah.
I mean, Taibi and Tyler are good friends, and it's really cool getting to collaborate with them again. And now really cool getting to collab with these incredible actors, and Katie, who I've never worked with as either. Katie Spellman, our choreographer. So yeah, I'm just learning so much from being in the room with like a bunch of clowns, honestly. It's really fun, and everyone has such grace in the room, and everyone kind of is like a wonderful leader, which I really respect that, how people work in the room. So I'm learning a lot from these folks.
Well, great. Is there anything else about the production, this experience in general, you'd like to add before we sign off?
Honestly, yeah, just come ready to have a good time. You know,
you kind of can't really encapsulate the whole experience of the show. You just have to experience. You just have to experience it. You just have to come. So I feel like just come over to PTC.
Yeah, it's a full sensory experience.
It is.
So just be ready for all the senses to be stimulated.
And come in costumes, super oversized basketball shorts.
Yeah. Honestly, it's that we wouldn't frown upon it.
Right.
The production is Small Ball. It's an offbeat musical. It's running now. If you are listening to this now, you should have already have tickets. What are you waiting for? And tickets is in plural because theater is more fun with a +1. So get out there and see Small Ball, an offbeat musical. It's on stage through June 29th at Philadelphia Theater Company. Adam Chandler Barrett. Jordan Dobson, thank you so much for having a chat with me. It was truly a pleasure.
Ditto.
Thank you.
Thank you to our guests, Adam Chandler Barrett and Jordan Dobson, for joining us on today's podcast. The Broad Street Review podcast is an Emory production. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, visit us online at em3ry.com. Get involved with Broad Street Review. Head on over to our website at www.broadstreetreview.com to find out how. While you're there, help keep us running and click donate at the top. There you can also find our social media links. Thank you for your part in keeping the conversation going.